Hi all, welcome back to Malware Analysis. Today in this video we are going to discuss on the topic of CS22045 and I'm J. Lavanya, Assistant Professor of CSE Department. So the first topic about the introduction of malware analysis is that malware taxonomy. So what is meant by malware analysis first of all? So it is the process of understanding the behavior and process of a suspicious file or the URL. The output of the analysis aids in the detection and mitigation of the potential threat. The key benefits of the malware analysis is that it helps to instant responses and security analysis. So there are majorly the four benefits. The first of all, pragmatically triage incidents by the level of severity, uncover the hidden indicators of compromise, that is IOC, followed by that should be blocked, and improve the efficacy of IOC, that is indicators of compromise alerts and notification. And we have to enrich the context when threat hunting. Okay, so here in this malware taxonomy, it is a classification of malicious software based on the characteristics, functions, and objectives. And this malware taxonomy, it helps to analyze or predict the behavior and also to classify the new threats and devise countermeasures. So this malware is designed to steal or to damage or disrupt the system for some malicious goals. Okay. So before we should see on the types of malware analysis or the threats occurs in the malware analysis, we shall discuss the analysis may be conducted in a manner that is static, dynamic, or a hybrid of the two. So first of all, static analysis. So basically, a static analysis does not require that the code is actually run. Instead, static analysis examines the file for signs of malicious intent. It can be useful to identify malicious infrastructure, libraries, or packed files. So technical indicators are identified, such as a file name or hashes, strings such as IP addresses, domain, and files for signs of malicious intent. It can be also useful to identify the malicious infrastructure, libraries, or the packed file. So, however, since the static analysis does not actually run the code, sophisticated malware can include malicious runtime behavior that can go undetected. For example, if a file generates a string that then downloads a malicious file based upon the dynamic string, it could go undetected by a basic static analysis. Enterprises have turned to dynamic analysis for a more complete understanding of the behavior of the file. And next one, the dynamic analysis. Here, in dynamic malware analysis, which executes a suspected malicious code in a safe environment, which is called a sandbox. So here, the closed system, that enables security professionals to watch the malware in action without the risk of letting it infect the system or escape into the enterprise network. So this dynamic analysis provides threat hunters and instant responses with deeper visibility, okay, allowing them to uncover the true nature of a threat. As a secondary benefit, this automated sandbox eliminates the time it would take to reverse engineer a file to discover the malicious code. Okay. The challenge with dynamic analysis is that it advertises of smart and sandboxes are out there, so they have become very good at detecting them. To deceive a sandbox which advises hide code inside them that may remain dormant under certain conditions or met. So only these does the code run. Okay. And next is that about the hybrid analysis. which includes the both technical about like both statistical analysis are reliable way to detect some sophisticated malicious code and sophisticated malware which can sometimes hide from the presence of sandbox technology. So by combining basic and dynamic analysis technique, hybrid analysis provides security team the best of both the approaches, and primarily because it can detect malicious code that is trying to hide, and then it can also extract many more indicators of compromise that is we have seen under the benefit that is IOC by statically and previously unseen code. So this hybrid analysis, which helps to detect some unknown threats, even those from the most sophisticated malware. For example, one of the things that hybrid analysis does is apply static analysis to a data generated by the behavior analysis. Like when a piece of malicious code runs and generates some changes in the memory, dynamic analysis would detect that, and analyze would be alerted to circle back and perform basic static analysis on that memory dump. So as a result, more IOC, that is indicators of compromise, would be generated, and zero D exploits would be exposed. Okay. So now, if you take right recently, India has detected over 369 million malware events between some October 2023 and September 2024 at the rate of 702 potential threats per minute on average. So this is reflective of a wider, more structural issue as bad actors are using sophisticated techniques and are exploiting every vulnerability that can get their hands on. So like in Data Security Council of India, one more India has cyber threat report, that is the cyber threat. The cyber threat landscape in India has reached a critical inflection point, like marked by some unprecedented volume and sophistication of threats, which targets a telemetry data of nearly segregates installation base of encompassing 8.44 million endpoints nationwide. And this report uncovers like nearly 369.01 million distinct malware detections. So India's rapid digital extension or expansion, which has significantly enhanced the connectivity and technological adoption across various sectors, which concurrently expanding the attack surface and increasing the susceptibility to cyber threats. So these findings underscore the escalating challenges posed by cyber threats amid like India's shift digital transformation. So these highlights the key trends or the threat factors and strategic implication for organization. Okay. Okay, so these are the malware thing. So first one is that viruses, and second one Trojan, third one rootkit, fourth one worms, fifth one spyware, sixth one crimeware, and last one is adware. Okay, so these are the malware types. Now let's see one by one. So first of all, what is meant by virus? Okay, so this virus in which is self-replicates by infecting other files also. And one more thing, like it activates when an infected program runs, executing both legitimate as well as the malicious code. And an example is that it can corrupt files, slow systems, and blocks the access. Okay, and apart from that, this there are so many antivirus solution, like you can go for some signature based scanning or like heuristic analysis or real-time behavior monitoring solution or sandbox analysis. Like if you go for these kind of types of detection, like signature based scanning. So this is a basic approach that all anti-malware programs use, including free ones. So signature based scanners rely on a database of known virus signature. The success of the scanner depends on the freshness of the signatures in the database. And if you take the heuristic analysis, So this detects the viruses by the similarity to related viruses. It examines samples of code in the malware rather than the entire signature. So this heuristic scanning can detect a various even that is hidden or under some additional junk code and real-time behavioral monitoring solutions. So these six some unaspected actions such as an application sending gigabytes of data over the network, or it blocks the activity and hunts the malware behind it. So this approach is helpful in detecting the fileless malware. The next is that sandbox analysis. So this moves some suspect files to a sandbox or the secure environment in order to activate it and analyze the file without exposing the rest of the network to some potential risk. So this is like other types of this is a virus or some malware, but not all malware or virus. Okay, we could say in a simple term. So that's it. An early example is that like Elkoner in the year 1982. I think you might have known this. I don't know how many of you knew this virus message. So here, it created in 1982 by a 15-year-old Richard Spreda, which is considered as the first computer virus to spread in the wild. It targeted Apple II computers and spread through some infected floppy disks because in those days only there were floppy disks, right? So instead of causing major damage, it displayed a playful poem after every 50th boot. So actually, so this manifestation programmed the personality in the poem was infected. So this was recognized as the first instance of computer and created a milestone in the history of cyber security. Okay. So next is that worm and Trojan. So here, what is meant by worm and Trojan is that so worm, like it spreads independently and also through networks or some devices. And unlike some traditional viruses, these worms can operate independently as well as propagate themselves, exploiting vulnerabilities in software or operating systems. So this self-replicating nature allows worms to spread rapidly and widely, which causes significant damage to the system as well as the network. So what are the key characteristics of worm is that it's a self-replication. So worms can create copies of themselves and spread to other devices, making them highly contagious. Second thing is that network propagation. So worms primarily spread through networks by exploiting vulnerabilities or using some social engineering tactics. So standalone program like unlike viruses, worms don't need to attach themselves to other files or programs to spread. They can operate independently. And malicious actions, once a worm infects a system, it can perform various malicious actions, including consuming system resources like memory and bandwidth, leading to some slowdown or some system crashes, deleting or modifying or corrupting files, installing packages for some remote access, launching other malware, stealing some sensitive information, or overloading networks, which causes disruption and denial of service. So how these worms will spread is that by exploiting vulnerabilities, social engineering, file sharing networks, and instant messaging and IRC. Okay, like exploiting vulnerabilities is that so worms can scan system for some known security flaws. Okay, in OS and in social engineering, worms can trick users into executing malicious code through some phishing email or through some infected attachments or malicious links. And file sharing network. So worms can spread through peer-to-peer file sharing network and instant messaging and IRC. So some worms can spread through some instant messaging application or some IRC networks. Okay, and examples of worm is that like email worm, IM worm through some message application, IRC worm through some IRC networks or something like that, and net worm spread through some network connection. Okay, so these are the consequences of worm infection. And how to prevent these kind of worm is that we have to keep the software updated, and we have to install some antivirus software which can detect and remove the worms. And you have to be cautious with sorry with cautious with email and downloads. We have to avoid some opening suspicious attachments or clicking on the links from some unknown sources, and we have to use some strong passwords, and we have to enable firewall. Okay, so next one is that Trojan horse. So Trojan horse, what it will do is that it distinguishes itself as a legitimate software. It relies on some user installation and then activates the hidden malicious code. So often used to create some backdoors. Okay. So Trojan is a type of malware that distinguishes itself as a legitimate software to gain access to a user system. So unlike viruses, Trojans don't replicate themselves. Okay, but they can be used just as disruptive by stealing data or corrupting the files or granting some unauthorized access. They rely on some social engineering to trick other users into downloading and installing them. Like more detailed explanation, like how it works, is that uh, are designed to appear harmless, like a legitimate application, file, or a software update. They are often spread through email attachment, malicious websites, or bundled with some seemingly useful software downloads. So once installed, the Trojan can perform various malicious actions, including data theft or system damage or the remote access. So how to protect is that by cautious of downloads, or we have to use some reputable antivirus software. You have to practice safe browsing or keep your software updated and be aware of some social engineering tactics. Okay, so these all comes under the Trojan. And next one, what is meant by backdoor and botnet? So backdoor and botnet. So first of all, backdoor which grants remote access without the user consent, and also often blends in using some common web protocols like HTTP, and this can be achieved through some various means, like some malicious code which is embedded in some legitimate software, or vulnerability in some encryption algorithm, or even undocumented features in a hardware. While backdoors can be used legitimately for administrative purposes, they are more often exploited by malicious actors for unauthorized access, data theft, or other harmful activities. Okay, and what it is that bypassing security or some remote access or undirected for period. So a backdoor circumvents standard security protocols such as authentication and encryption, which allows unauthorized access. It provides remote access to resources or within the compromised system, enabling attackers to control the system, steal data, or launch further attacks. Undirected for periods of battles are often distinguished to remain hidden, making them difficult to until significant damage has been done. So what are the types of backdoors is that software backdoor, cryptographic backdoor, hardware backdoor, and operational backdoor. So this software backdoor with malicious code injected into some legitimate programs or hidden within the malware, and cryptographic backdoors which weakness intentionally built into some encryption algorithms, or hardware backdoors undocumented features or vulnerabilities in hardware or firmware, and operational backdoor access gained through some social engineering or some insider threats. And how they are used is that by means of data theft or malware installation, system hijacking, or launching attacks. So how to prevent these backdoor attacks is that by using some regular security audits or software updates or strong password in like multi-factor authentication and endpoint protection and employee training. So this is all about the backdoor. Our next one is you're gonna see is that a botnet. So botnet, it is in cybersecurity we used to say is a network of compromised computers. This is also known as bot or zombies. You know, like we have seen in some films like zombies, like the ghost, like not such thing. It's controlled by some malicious actor, the bot header, without the owner's knowledge. So it was that is what they have mentioned. So it is a network of compromised devices where the zombies under a single control, and it is used for spam or denial of service attack and spreading malware. Okay. So these bots are infected with some malware and which is used to carry out various cyber attacks and malicious activities such as DDoS attacks, data theft, and spam campaigns. So how these botnets work is that first one, infection. So devices are infected with malware, often through phishing email or malicious download, or exploiting some software vulnerabilities. And control, so this infected devices or the bots are controlled by the bot header through a command and control server, and this bot header can remotely command the bots to perform some various malicious attack tasks like flooding a website with some traffic, stealing data, or spreading malware. And next, the types of botnet attack, if you take DDoS attack or data theft, spam campaign, cryptojacking, phishing attack, as well as malware distribution. Okay. So the examples of botnet usage, if you take like a botnet could be used to launch a large-scale DDoS attack against a company's website, disrupting its online services. A botnet could be used to spam out spam emails with some malicious link infecting users who click on them. Or a botnet could be used to steal the user credential from some infected devices and sell them on the dark web. And next we are gonna see is that downloader, info stealer, and spyware. So downloader here, which installs the additional malware once inside the system. Like example is that a macro based. So here what happened is that a downloader in the context of malware, it works is that first one, initial infection, like downloaders are typically the first stage of the malware attack. This may be distinguished as a legitimate file or bundled with some other malware. And then remote communications. Remote communication here. So once installed, the downloader connects to some remote server or the website which is controlled by the attacker. And next is that like download and installation. This downloader retrieves additional malicious software from the remote server and installs it on the infected system. Okay, so this downloader retrieves what additional malicious software from the remote server and installs it on the affected system. Okay, a persistence, like some downloaders are designed to remain active, allowing attackers to download and install other malware over time or to receive some further instruction. So what are the types of downloaders? Like a Trojan downloader, Android downloader, and drive-by downloader. So what is meant by Trojan downloader? A common type of malware that secretly downloads and installs other malicious program. An Android downloader malicious apps on mobile devices that download and install some additional malicious apps. And drive-by downloader, these downloaders exploit vulnerabilities in web browsers or plugins to install some malicious automatically when a user visits a malicious website. So example is that a Trojan downloader, Android downloader, or Win32 Zaku, all those things comes under the examples of download. Okay. Next we are gonna see is that info stealer. So info stealer is otherwise called as a spyware. Okay. So this steals sensitive data like passwords or the banking information, and which operates covertly in the background, and keyloggers which tracks and record the user's keystroke. So before that, so what does mean by like info stealer or spyware? So as the name suggests, it's a type of malicious software. This category of malware targets the personal or financial or the banking information, credit card number, browsing history, and other valuable information. So the ultimate goal of the info stealer is to transmit this stolen data to some cyber criminal who can use it for some financial gain. And once installed, they can operate quietly in the background, making them particularly hard to detect. They may also employ some various techniques to avoid the detection or maintain some persistence or find some other valuable targets on a network. So how does this spyware works is that which employs a variety of techniques to target and extract the specific types of data from the infected system. Each strain of malware that is classified as an info stealer has some different capabilities ranging from simple scripts to some sophisticated modular malware. It's also important to remember that data can be stolen from a system using some native built OS tooling known as living off the land, that's LOTL attack. Okay, so this info stealer operates through some key logging or form grabbing, clipboard hijacking, screen capturing, browser session hijacking, or some credential dumping, man in the browser attack, email harvesting, or crypto wallet harvesting, and so on. Okay. Next one is that a key logger. So what does mean by a key logger? You know, in cyber security or in hardware is that it used to track and record the user keystrokes. So there's captured information which includes like password, username, or the credit card details and personal messages, which is then sent to a malicious actor. So the keylogger can be implemented as a software or the malware or the hardware, like software keylogger, hardware, and how they work is that based on the various keylogger facilities, it roll out some mechanisms like what it means, like intent matter, malicious, data theft, and all those things, right? So this is all about the keylogger. Next one is that scareware, ransomware, and adware. So what does mean by scareware is that so it uses fake warnings to scare users into buying unnecessary software, and this often proposes a present urgent looking for alerts or notification that claim to be from legitimate security software. The goal is to induce fear and panic, leading users to download the malware or enter personal information. So this how this scareware works is that fake alerts and notification. Scareware displays pop-up messages that mimic the legitimate security software warnings or claiming your device is infected with some virus or some other threats, and fear-based tactics. So these messages create a sense of urgency or fear, suggesting immediate action is needed to prevent some further damage. And malicious download scareware often directs users to download fake antivirus software or some other malicious programs that are actually malware or ransomware. So these users may be prompted to purchase some fake software or services that offer no real benefit. So common scareware examples like fake antivirus software or scareware may display a fake scam results showing some numerous infection and then offer a solution in the form of a paid antivirus program and ransomware attack. So here, this scareware may mimic some ransomware attack, falsely claiming your files or encrypted using some ransom payment. A scareware may claim your system is running poorly and offer a solution in the form of a paid optimization tool that provides no real benefit. Okay, and this encrypts data and which demands the payment to restore the access, and it was a major threat since 2013. And adware is that which delivers unwanted ads often bundled with some free downloads. Okay, so this is all about adware. And next we are going to discuss is about rootkit, filers, and living off the land. So what is meant by rootkit and filers and living off the land is that, so first one, rootkit, which conserves a malware presence and by altering the OS functions, often paired with some backdoor. So here it goes with some collection of software designed to give malicious actors control of the computer network or the application. So once activated, the malicious program sets up a backdoor exploit and may deliver additional malware such as ransomware, bots, or keylogger or the Trojan. And what are the types of rootkits is that a firmware rootkit and kernel mode rootkit and bootloader rootkit, virtualized rootkit, user mode rootkit, memory rootkit. Okay. So what is meant by firmware rootkit? A firmware rootkit targets the software that runs particular hardware components by storing themselves on the software that runs during the boot process before the operating system starts up. So they are especially stealthy because they can persist through some reinstallation of the operating system. And next is that kernel mode rootkit. So this is a sophisticated piece of malware that can add some new code to the OS or delete and edit the OS code. They are complicated to create, and if a kernel rootkit is buggy, it will have heavily impact the target computer's performance. So example is that spicy hotpot FU and cannot, and a bootloader rootkit. So it's also boot up some concurrent with the operating system and target the master boot record, which is first code executed when starting up a computer, or the volume boot record. Okay, so by attaching itself to one of these types of records, a bootloader rootkit will not appear in a standard file system or a view, or be difficult for an antivirus or rootkit remover to detect. And next is that virtualized rootkit. So unlike kernel mode rootkit, which boot up at the same time, the targeted system boots up. A virtualized rootkit boots up before the operating system boots up. And next is that user mode rootkit. Here also it has a vanquish hacker defended it attacks. So these only will be turned up with some regulations. And next is that uh, there is one example like which is happening to protect root against. So first is that a file is malware which operates entirely in memory, evading a traditional antivirus scan. So sorry. So fileless malware is that uh, it exploits or operates entirely in memory, and it's a type of malicious software that operates entirely within the memory rather than a hard drive or as a file. So this makes it particularly difficult to detect and remove, as the traditional antivirus and security solutions often rely on scanning for some malicious files on a disk. So instead of dropping malicious files, filers, or malware, this legitimate system tools and processes such as partial, WMI, or even macros within the documents to execute its harmful commands directly into a memory. And next one is that living off the land. So living off the land, attack is that which we call as LOTL, which exploits in our built-in OS tools like partial instead of some external files. So here, this approach makes the attacker harder to detect, as the attacker's actions blend in with some normal system operations, utilizing trusted tools and processes. And this LOTL attacks work is that these attackers exploit existing system tools and functionalities such as partial, Windows management, or the instrumentation WMI, and other built-in utilities. So they avoid introducing some new malicious software that would trigger some additional traditional security alerts. So this attacker, what they will do is that distinguish as a legitimate system processes, making it difficult to distinguish malicious activity from some normal operations. Okay, like example like WMI and other low-based leaving of the land binary scripts and libraries. So these all comes under leaving of the land. Next is that comes under specialized malware like launcher, rat, and backing ATM or POS malware. Launcher which deploys other malicious hardware, programs stealthy, and remote administration which grants the attackers full system control remotely. Common in targeted attacks is banking ATM or POS malware. So this targets financial transactions and devices which can steal data or force some cash withdrawal. Okay. The next one, a malware classification basis like type. So what type of, whether it's a high level function or like example ransomware spyware. Yes, we have seen it already. And family which relates to this malware classification is that it relates to variant sharing code or behavior, which can look different externally and variant like new versions or the updates of some existing malware within the family. Okay. Next one is that. So why this classification matters? So proactive detection or identifies the attack patterns for some earlier threat responses, remediation, which enables proper actions. Examples, some specific decryptors for ransomware, intelligence gathering, correlates variants to hacker groups or predicts the future attacks. And it can also use some static and dynamic analysis, API calls, code reuse, mutex name, network indicators, and more. So naming of these are standardized by organization like Hero, but can vary by vendor. So all those things comes under this malware. And one more thing, apart from these classification, can make how malware its persistence and specific behavior. So in the upcoming videos, I will discuss on more detail in how, why you're gonna use the updated versions of these kind of software in order to prevent these malware in the future. Okay, so thank you all. So in this particular video, we have discussed on certain topics like what is meant by malware analysis and what are the various classifications that of it and how to prevent it. What are the real-time examples which has been occurred in 2023, 24, and 25. And we have also seen about the various malware things like so what is meant by virus, worms, Trojan, a ransomware, spyware, adware, and then bot network. I hope this video is very useful for you. We will see you in the next video. Thank you all.